Let's get this show on the road, shall we?
Painted sky in a sunset scene, through the window of a GMC. White lines and lighted signs got me hypnotized. There's nothing like the feel of the road and the smell of the diesel smoke. Another 10 or 20 miles, I'll be pulling in this thing.
So let's get this show on the road, shall we?
13 years just laying it down, driving my GMC. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Welcome back to the channel. It's Dane Scott from Dane Scott's Truckers Lounge. Over my shoulder here, you'll see what looks to be a fuel tank. And if that's what you think it is, well, you're right. It's a fuel tank. It was a leaking fuel tank. And we got to address that because it was making a mess. And this little stinking rotten corner right here, yeah, that's where she was leaking from. It took us forever to find it because whoever welded this before did an excellent job. But right there where the two welds came together, it was just a little bit lacking evidently, and over time it just decided to start leaking, and boy did it make a mess. So it took us a couple hours to find that yesterday, because what Mr. Wizard and I tried to do was put a little air pressure in that tank and then soak it down with a soapy water and make bubbles, you know, the typical way to find a leak. Didn't work. I mean, we could not find this stinking leak, so we decided, well, we're just going to set it back on the supports and pour in about 5-10 gallons of fuel again and see if it starts seeping somewhere. And luckily, that's what happened. So I found it. So now that it's out, which I actually don't mind, because now I can sand it down, paint it, and I can get in here and I can make it look real nice in there. I can scrub that down and wire brush that down and get some undercoating. So yeah, I'm not at all upset about it. So I'll get that done. We've got the exhaust done. You heard it run in the last video, but we had to take it apart so I could get in and get the cab corner metaled up, and I think I showed you that. I don't know. At any rate, we got the metal on the sill. That's all taken care of, and in there is taken care of. What we did in here, we had to get that new pull stop in, emergency shut off, and I've started on the gauges. Yeah, started cleaning that panel up. I've got 4 removed, taken apart, cleaned, installed, and I'll move on to the others. This video is brought to you by BRUNT, transforming high-performing workwear. There ain't no flip-flops in this truck. Anyway, I've got that patched, got the tank sanded down, and she's got a coat of undercoating, paintable undercoating on it. So after that's dry, then we'll give her a little paint job. For the sending unit, Mr. Wizard found me one at Summit Racing, kind of a generic one that'll work for this, kind of just a plunger type, you know, that goes down, because that's all we need. We don't we just need basic stuff here. You know, this is going to be a local truck anyway, so it's not a huge deal, but I think that'll work. So we're going to get that going. And so while it was down, of course, I'm cleaning up the frame in there and doing some undercoating, and we'll keep doing that. And of course the straps will all be painted. And I want to get this door finished. I got some fiberglass in there. What I did was I neutralized the rust like I've been doing with that rust neutralizer from Tractor Supply. Then I did the fiberglass. It's like resin with fiberglass, pieces in it, and then I put some cloth, and I'll sand this down, and I'll continue to do that. I mean, there's going to be just a little bit of an outcropping here, not a huge deal. Don't care, because I got to cover this anyways, if you can see that. So, yeah, this is a truck. This truck doesn't need a lot for mechanically speaking. We're going to put new filters in it, of course. Put the fuel in it, new filters. We're going to give it a service and run it and see what the heck. There might be one or two airlines I think we're going to do right off the bat. We do have an air leak, and we've tracked down a couple airlines, but not going to go through them all. Just going to go through them as needed and see what happens. So stick around town. It's time to catch you guys up on the lounge itself. I haven't done any video on the lounge in quite a while, so let's take a look and see what's up. Yeah, it's changed a little bit. I had to move the jukebox out here to the main garage area. I needed the room. And I don't know if you guys have seen the memorabilia that's been adding up on the walls. People have sent, or my son got me that for Christmas. So what we have done here, and I am totally stoked that I got this. I finally got a booth for the Truckers Lounge. Let's get a little more light in here. There we go. But this booth, I don't know if you guys recall, but about a year ago when I did a video, maybe a year and a half now, when I did a video on the old truck stop, the old Keystone truck stop that I used to ride my bike to as a kid and watch the trucks and talk to the fuel jockeys and basically be a pain in the butt, I'm sure they thought. But I did a video where I went around, because it's still there. I mean, it was abandoned. Actually, they're trying to open up the store part of it now. The tanks were removed last summer, but they're opening up the store section to start, and they might do the restaurant later. But so I got to talk to them finally after a year and a half. Everybody's like, oh, go ahead and take one of them booths, nobody will notice it missing. Well, no, we're not going to do that. We don't want Dane Scott's Truckers Lounge to be filmed from the county jail. So anyways, Mr. Wizard drove past there the other day, and he says, hey, there's some activity there, and they're putting stuff out in the parking lot. You may want to stop over there and see if you can get one of them booths. So off I went, and I did talk to the new renter that's putting the store together, and he gave me permission to take one of the booths. I gave him a little beans, and we did a transaction, so everything was on the up and up. So the Truckers Lounge finally has a booth seat, which I'm just so pleased, that actually came from the truck stop. So, my buddy Wayne has all the GMCs. I featured them on there. He's got the General now. He's got the 54 we did. He had the 70 39500 that sold, and that old KW 49, I think it was, or whatever. But anyway, I had Wayne and Mr. Wizard over to christen the new booth the other morning. We had some coffee and some donuts and a big BS session. So that's what we're doing here at the Truckers Lounge. So that's the update there. And I did get a couple display cases so that I could start putting all of the goodies inside. Stuff that I've collected, stuff that you guys have sent me to add to the lounge. And there's a lot I got to put in there yet. I've got to fill this one yet because I got a lot of other stuff yet to put in it. So yeah, it's kind of looking different in here, and I'm pleased with the progress. And what I'm actually going to do, look at this. Here's the menu, Bob's Big Boy. I mean, come on. Remember Bob's Big Boy, guys? Let's order something to eat. Look at that menu. I mean, come on. This is when truck stops were truck stops. And you drivers could sit down and have yourselves a good meal and a good cup of coffee. And we just don't have that anymore. I'm sorry to say. I feel bad for you guys out on the road having to eat all that junk food. Look at that. That's the control for the jukebox. They go together and everything works. But and look at this. This came actually from my folks. We found this brand new in a box. They worked at the Ecstatic, and many of you guys might remember the Ecstatic microphones. They were world famous and still are somehow. I think they're still manufacturing stuff under CAD. But anyways, this is an old CB, Robin CB, that somebody sent me. And my buddy up in Canada sent me this for the hood for the Brigadier, and now the Brigadier's gone, so it's going to go on Sarge. Yes. Hey, look at this. Last week, I showed you guys the meeting, ATHS meeting, Northeast Ohio, that we went to. And my buddy Dan Renovich says, I bet you don't have one of these. I said, I sure don't. So here we go. And I think this is cool. This came from a guy down south, a buddy. Country. That's his CB handle. He goes by Country. Nice guy. We talk a lot. But he sent me a bunch of memorabilia. And this was when Pure switched to 76. And I even have a book of matches here. See, it was Pure. This is the next exit west of me, Kingsville. And I used to work here. At 16, I pumped fuel there. It was called the Big K Truck Stop. And so it changed to 76 back then. We still called it the Big K. And I think I shared this with you guys. My buddy Mac that we interviewed, Ron Mackey, gave me this lighter that he got when he graduated from the Detroit Diesel School in Cleveland. So yeah, we're getting the goodies interspersed in the Truckers Lounge and starting to even use it a little bit. So there's the speedometer. We're going to check that bad boy out. It's missing a screw there, so it's moving around a little bit. So we'll fix that, get it cleaned up, and then move to the tack. So the first thing I do to these old gauges is take the old triple-aught steel wool to the bezel and get off as much gunk as possible. A lot of times these gauge bezels are, pretty pitted but they'll still clean up pretty nice. At least you can get them to shine again so that they look right. Someone looks in there, they see a nice dash. I mean, yeah, it'll have pits, but it'll still be shiny and clean. Okay, so that's about as good as we're going to get. Used steel wool on the bezel and little never dull. And then actually I have a drill attachment, so I was able to go into the back. Now this is a tack, not a Speedo, so we know it works. So the tack works, and so if we have a problem with it, then it's going to be the adapter on the front of the engine would be at fault then. But yeah, she works fine. Okay, what I did on this one, I actually used lightly the wire wheel, and it really did a pretty good job on this. But you can see inside there's rust on that black bezel, so I've got to get it apart. So what I did was, you can see these tabs, you have to catch them by the edge with a mini screwdriver, bend up the edge, and then pry them all back for the bezel. And then what I did was, because they don't pry straight, I used a pair of needle nose to straighten them out. You know, once they were bent back. So now I'm ready to take the bezel off. Okay, so I think you can see that. It's rusted in there. That'll give me the ability to clean this just a little better. As you see, this bezel comes off. So I can get that all cleaned up and repaint it. And get the Speedo put back together. And I can clean the glass a lot better too. Okay, so there's the finished product. Definitely looks a lot better than what it was. Not perfect, but about as good as it gets. So here we go. Gauges are all done. Okay. And I'm pretty happy with that compared to what it was, because here's what it looked like before we started. So yeah, much happier. Getting the wheel cleaned up. Slow but sure. Now I got to move back up above. I've got to seam seal all of these, sand them, edge them down, all the edges down, sand them down, and get that covered up there. But everything's filled, and just I got to see, like I said, I need to seam seal those and sand down, or vice versa. I need to sand down the edges, put some fiberglass on it, and then seam seal the edges, of course. So then I will be able to move to this dash. The dash obviously will get sanded, and I think what I'm going to do on the dash, I'm going to use the what is that paint? I want to say crinkle finish. No, the hammered paint. Yeah, Rust-Oleum, I believe, is the one who makes it. I use Rust-Oleum, so that must be the one. But yeah, the hammered finish is what I'm going to put on the dash. I think that'll look cool, and it helps hide, you know, after years and years of, you know, all the debris and stuff. Even if you sand it, it's not going to be smooth, and it doesn't have to be smooth because it's a truck. It's an old truck. It's not a museum piece, as I keep saying, but that'll look excellent. I've done that before. Matter of fact, I used it in the cracker box, I do believe. So I'll put the hammered finish on there, get that painted, get the dash back together, get this cleaned up here, looking good. Then we'll get the doghouse back in here, and then I'll start buttoning up everywhere else. Got to do make some panels. That's easy stuff. Easy stuff for the panels. That one's not bad over there. So this is a good time to remind you of the shows coming up. I'm just going to hit the flyers real quick. We've got the one in May in Mid-Ohio. We've got the big GMC Jamboree June 3rd right here in Conneaut, Ohio. And now we've added a show that I forgot about and was made aware of, June 10th. The Springtime Truck and Tractor Show up in Maine. Every year they have a truck raffle, and they raffle off a truck that they've gotten from Dying Breed Diesels, Braden Tucker's business here in Elizabeth, Ohio. And this year they're doing 3 trucks. So check out the flyer, get a hold of them, get your raffle tickets. You could get a vintage truck, and then you could be like doing a Trucker's Lounge thing too. And we have the Ohio Vintage Truck Reunion last weekend in June. So listen, if you like old school trucking, you like all the memorabilia that goes with it, you like hearing from the drivers that lived it and drove those white lines, you're in the right place. So make sure you like and subscribe and listen. Keep the hammer down, safe and sound.